Hey all, welcome to Share Track. This is Raj here. And friends, today I just want to give you a glimpse into my mind. Spring is out here in Toronto and the temperatures have gone up. Things are looking better and my mindset is also much better. Nothing much has changed in the market, but the changing of the season from winter to spring to summer is something to look forward to. And with that, I have some really positive thoughts about genomics, and I would like to share them with you. It's just, you can say it's flights of fancy or something like that. It's partly moored in reality and partly in terms of anticipation of what could be. So let's get started. Welcome back, friends. I think when we look at all the technologies that we have seen in the watch list companies that we have, and we try to put them all together and kind of create a vision of what the world would be like from a genomics perspective, maybe 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, or 15 years down the line. The picture is really amazing. I see quality of human life improving a lot. I also see revolutionary treatments for diseases which are currently not being treated because we don't have any treatment and we don't understand how to treat it. We don't have the tools. So those kind of diseases, and most of them have got their foundation in genetic defects or deficiencies. So all those things would probably be handled better, and cancer is already being tackled to a good extent, starting with lymphomas. And I think there's tremendous progress being made towards curing solid tumors and other types of cancers. We have the blueprint. It's a question of putting it into action with strategic therapies using genomics. So I'm going to just give you a glimpse of how I see all the elements or tools that are available to the genomic companies to come up with treatments for various ailments, and therefore create a new market, a new paradigm for medicine, which is to treat the root cause rather than the symptoms, and to give a lasting relief to ailments rather than passing relief. So so here are the elements the way I see it. The first element is genomic sequencing, because now we are able to sequence genomes. We are able to identify patterns, and we can associate patterns using software, which is already in place, and AI, which allows us to identify specific patterns in the gene readout, so that they can be associated with various syndromes and diseases. And the work is going on very aggressively at various levels with various companies and organizations. So I expect that in the next 10 years, we'll have an exhaustive catalog of all the genetic defects. And I was making this video, I think, last week about optical reading of genomes, and how it is an add-on on top of long reads and short reads, because it's able to read and sequence areas that are not accessible to long and short reads. So overall, we have a complement of systems that enable us to look at the genome completely. And of course, the human genome is really huge, and it's going to take a lot of time and efforts to complete this task. But thankfully for us, we have AI systems which are in place. And NVIDIA has also done a lot of work creating AI chips and systems that helps to do this kind of a work. And companies like Illumina, PACV, Oxford Nanopore, they have all been working on bringing the technology to the hands of the common people. It's like democratization of that technology. That has helped a lot in the field of diagnostic, in the field of research, and in the field of coming up with cures. So those are all the the hardware side and the software side of the equation, because this is the first point at which we analyze all the genomes and identify the patterns and associate them with syndromes. And now we know what causes what disease, or what causes what syndrome, what kind of mutation or a defect in the genes, and how it should be corrected. Because when we take the genomic sample of the human species, most of them are going to point to what is the normal state or the normal configuration of genes, to use a layman's term, because I'm not a scientist. So if you know what is the ideal, and then whenever you see things deviating from the ideal, and look at the patient and what physical problems they have, you can identify which are harmless mutations and which are mutations that cause problems, and exactly what problems they cause. So all that one has to do in most cases would be to go and edit that part of the gene and set it right. That is one approach. The other approach is to see what kind of a protein is produced because of that wrong gene entry, and then provide the right protein through mRNA, or use some kind of antibody to neutralize that protein. So that those could potentially be the strategies out there. Again, mRNA opens up a whole new field for treating various conditions, because the way I look at it, it seems that protein is the currency of the body, and our DNA itself consists of a lot of genes, and each gene is a blueprint for creating a protein, and each protein is used at a particular time in the body in order to perform a particular process and relieve a particular stress on the body. And when the body requires a particular protein, it informs the nucleus, and the nucleus asks the DNA to find the right gene and create the protein. So the right gene is found, and then transcriptase action happens, and the gene is converted into a mRNA. And when the mRNA comes out of the nucleus, then the ribosomal RNA or rRNA and tRNA jointly work to create the protein, and the whole process restores the equilibrium in the body. Now, if there is defective genes, then you're going to have defective proteins, and we will know which genes are defective and therefore which proteins are going to be defective. And then the solution would be that you use mRNA injections or therapy to create those proteins in the body, to neutralize the lack of the protein or the wrong protein being produced. So those are the solutions that I can see. And of course, we have CRISPR-Cas9, CRISPR-Cas12, and there's a whole lot of Cas proteins which are used along with CRISPR, and they have increasing functionality and specific functionality. They get even more accurate. And with all those things, gene editing is possible. And gene editing not only helps cure diseases, but also it can help create improved varieties of crops. It can create drought-resistant crops. It can create crops crops and plants which can produce more oxygen than the current varieties. Or you could have lettuce, which has already been done, lettuce that has got more nutrition in it than the regular lettuce. So those kind of things can also be done with CRISPR-Cas9 and CRISPR-Cas combinations, the various Cas we have. And of course, apart from that, we have base editing and we have prime editing, which also provide a lot of opportunities. The original complaint was that CRISPR-Cas9 has got side effects, and there are certain areas where you have issues. But the latest news is that there are some solutions using RNA. I think it's called sgRNA, which can be used in order to mitigate those risks. So that makes CRISPR-Cas9 again very effective. So overall, I think everything is looking good. But as I did an editorial last week, the main thing for us, especially when genomics is progressing so fast and coming up with mRNA, monoclonal antibodies, stem cell-based therapies, and all these things in order to cure human suffering and usher in a new era of medicine, we need to have a proper regulatory regime which can enable proper vetting of these technologies. And we also need political maturity to nurture science and technology rather than take us back to the dark ages by preventing various new therapies like mRNA. There's a bill in Idaho to ban mRNA vaccines for humans and animals. So I would like to see what happens to that. Hopefully it gets defeated. But those kind of things are likely to take the industry back. And of course, they will affect our genomic companies in our watch list, which are using those technologies. And especially Moderna is going to be impacted most by mRNA because their whole business is built around their mRNA platform, and that's their specialty. So we are hoping for things to be better that way. And also, we need more regulatory bodies like FDA, preferably in Europe, Australia, and UK, to start ramping up their ability. And among these regulatory bodies, they need to come up with some kind of understanding so that the fast tracking of therapies can be coordinated, and maybe there's a single window of application, and that could reduce the cost of all these therapies, because all of them would essentially look for the same kind of data to approve the therapies. So if there's a single window approach and there's an organization that is set up, that can be a single point of contact for genomic companies, where they can submit their applications, and it can be farmed out to all the recognized bodies that approve therapies in various jurisdictions, then that could also be another initiative that can be done by governing authorities to reduce the cost of all these drugs, because a lot of efforts goes on replicating the approval process across continents. And if we simplify that and reduce the duplication, then things would be much better. So some kind of a coordinating body is needed, some kind of a treaty agreement is needed between all these countries which are at the forefront of approving therapies, and which are predominantly the affluent countries, where these therapies can be purchased by the people of these countries have the capability to purchase the therapies, which are typically priced very high. So that is one. And the other thing that needs to be done is some kind of compensation has to be worked out for the genomic companies, so that the poorer countries can still benefit from the therapies for their own citizens, without genomic companies losing their investment and the profit potential. So a lot of work needs to be done, and the politicians have got to focus on those. At least in the next 5 to 6 years, we should see bureaucrats and politicians focusing on these areas. Then things are likely to improve. But at this point of time, I think I'm fairly happy with the way things are progressing. As long as, even if we do not have the benefit of all the things that I said that we need, as long as there is no regressive measures by governments and regulatory authorities, I think the industry should still be fine. And by the last quarter of this year or the first quarter of next year, we'll have CRISPR coming up with hexacell monetization. CRISPR and Vertex will be coming up with that. And subsequently, I'm looking forward to CTX 110 and 130. And next year, potentially, we can look at Beam and Verve coming up with some of their therapies getting close to FDA approval. So next year promises to be exciting. The last quarter also promises to be very exciting. But for us genomic investors, we need a mindset where we are able to do enough research and convince ourselves whether it is worthwhile staying invested in these genomic companies with a loss in our portfolio, or whether it is profitable or worthwhile to book the loss, take the money and invest it somewhere else and pursue profits and come back into genomics when the coast is clear. So those are the choices that we need to make if we want to. Otherwise, we can just wait until the businesses improve. And there is also a possibility that some of these companies may have multiple pipeline candidates failing and may not be able to get funding, and therefore the investment might be lost. So one has to be very alert when dealing with leading edge technologies like genomics that we have here. And you have to be specific about the companies and the strength of their collaborations, their cash balance and their cash burn, the cash runway they got. Those are the things that we have to look at, and that will reduce our risk to a good extent. As far as I am concerned, I have a small portion invested in genomics stocks, and a good portion invested in FANG stocks, and that's my combination and real estate. That's my combination at this point of time. I have definitely invested in Ginkgo Bioworks, which is in the red right now. I also have invested in Imatics, which is also in the red at this point of time. In the past, I have definitely made investment in Ginkgo and booked profits, and now I have re-entered it again. So I'm just staying put, and the fact that I make all these videos keeps me away from my trading desk, and therefore my transaction last year was very, very minimum. And this year also so far, I've just done a couple of transactions. One was I sold FNGU and booked profit, and recently I bought it back at a much lower price. So I'm doing that on the side. Of course, I've done the same thing with DNA. I sold, booked some profits, then I bought it back again. But right now, DNA is in the red in my portfolio. And most of my other stocks are in the red, but I have some holdings of Berkshire, which is in the positive, and Microsoft is also in the positive. So that's about what I have with me. And my mind is looking forward to the summer coming in, and I'm looking forward to being able to go out for walks with my dogs into the park, in the nearby park, and also entertaining friends on the deck with a pint of beer. My neighbors would be returning from Florida next week, so I'm looking forward to meet them and have a pint of beer with them. We exchange all our notes, and they'll give me fresh scoop of what's happening down south. So that's what it looks like. I'm very optimistic for this year, and I'm thinking that most of the bad times are behind us, and we are unwinding all the risks, and hopefully by October we start seeing interest rate cuts. Out here, real estate market is buzzing. I'm a registered broker, real estate broker out here, working with a couple of clients, and the market is heating up out here for detached homes. So hopefully my clients get a few really good opportunities and maybe snag a property in the next few days. So I have a whole lot of things going on, and of course the videos in this channel. So I'm happy about it. And our ShareTrack channel has now got more than 3,300 subscribers. And our Hindi channel for HIV has got around 300 odd subscribers, 300 plus subscribers. So it's happening there. So soon we'll migrate all the Hindi content into that channel, and this channel will be purely English. And so everything is going well, all moving in the right direction. We have 3 Patreons. More Patreons are always welcome. And hopefully when we cross 4,000 subscribers, I'll open up the membership option in this channel, so that those who want to support this channel can become members and support us. So we'll cross the bridge when we come to that. We still have got another 600 more subscribers that we need. And of course, I'm going to come up with a painting as usual. So I'm looking forward to that also. Well, friends, so that was a piece of what's happening in my mind, so that you guys could get an understanding of what is happening backstage at ShareTrack. That's all for now. Thanks and have a great day. And here is looking forward to a great summer. Bye for now.